So since the dawn of time, since the dawn of Google Ads, let's not get ahead of ourselves. There's been a fundamental problem and challenge with running Google Ads campaigns with lead generation and especially considered purchase lead generation. So example being B2B. There's a real, and it primarily boils down to a disconnect in data from Google Ads data into CRM data, right? Which poses some fundamental problems in how you manage Google Ads campaigns. Ultimately, the premises has been, and the fundamental flaw in it is you optimize and manage campaigns based on volume of lead and not quality of lead or the outcomes that produces, right? So it's very exciting times that ultimately software and technology now allows us to solve that really well. So we've been building this software piece that ultimately pulls all your CRM data and all your Google Ads data into one platform, and we start to see some really interesting analytics that come out of it. That obviously, once we get that analytics, we can then optimize and manage Google Ads campaigns significantly more effectively, right? So one thing that I wanted 15 years ago when I was running my B2B payments business was we were spending at the time probably 20 grand a month on Google Ads. And that was 15 years ago, so that's kind of like 50, 60, 70 grand now. And I could never answer the question of how much revenue we actually generated, right? So that was a fundamental problem in itself, is I just don't know how much money we're making. We're spending good coin, and I know we're making good coin, but I don't know if we're making 600 grand, 700 grand, 800 grand, right? So that's question number one, right? You need to make sure we're making money and it's profitable, right? So we now have the ability to build these sort of dashboards that prove this and show this reasonably quickly, which is awesome, right? So proposition number two is really about wastage, right? So the research shows that between 20 and 40% of all leads into out of Google Ads into B2B businesses are crap, poor quality, right? So it's wasted money. So knowing that and shifting that spend alone, so if we can shift 30% into high converting parts of the campaign that obviously converting a lot better and producing revenue and good opportunities for us, right? When you do the maths quickly, it adds up to 43% increase in returns, right? So that alone is a game changer, right? Just within a couple of months, and you're never going to get all of that 30%, but certainly if we can make 15 and 20% inroads really quickly, right, it just becomes a real quick game changer in terms of how you can grow and scale Google Ads, right? So and then there's obviously the opportunity cost, right? And this was the other big question that I always grappled with was, what are we leaving on the table, right? Because once again, having that disconnect between Google Ads and your CRM, you don't know. We had a target here of 866. We made 765. Could we have made $1 million, 1.2 million, 1.4 million, right? So what's the opportunity cost that we're leaving on the table? And that's a game changer, right? So if within a couple of months we can get a 20 or 30% increase across the board, cut some costs, right? They're real amazing gains you can get relatively quickly from the campaigns, right? So the ability to pull and marry up all that data, then we start to see by campaign level, right? This top campaign's performing really well, right? It's got a good cost, a reasonable cost. The revenue that we're getting is really good. The expense margin, i.e. one divided by the other, or you just flip that on the head in terms of return on investment. That's a really good one, right? But campaign two, not so good. So the question is, how do we fix that, right? Obviously, campaign four is out off the charts, right? So we either need to get rid of it today, or we need to figure out what's going wrong with it, right? And we can do the same with keyword analysis now. What really becomes quite interesting and exciting is that combining of marketing data with sales data, right? So we start to see what the metrics are like throughout the stages of the funnel, right? So what's the cost per lead that comes out of Google Ads at $61? What's the cost per lead creation and decent lead in our system? What's the opportunity cost? What's the cost per sale? So we can start to really map out exactly where things are working, where aren't they working. And then we start to get to this stage where we can start to analyze what it's breaking down, right? So obviously we've got really good cost per acquisition here, but it's not translating into a good lead. So the question is, why not? Is it something we can't compete on? Is there competitors going stronger in? Is our sales team breaking down between opportunity and sales? So once again, there's immense amount of data. We can see trends over time for whatever metrics you want, right? So there's just this real game changer in terms of how you can now manage Google Ads, right? So we can optimize and improve campaigns based on real outcomes to your business, right? Revenue, great opportunities, get rid of the crap leads coming through that historically you just haven't been able to do. Like, and there is an offline conversion tracking is fraught with danger, and it's really hard to get right, etc. And it will never have this level of detail, right? So there's this ability now to build these reasonably quickly and simply over a couple of months, once there's a bit of tidying up the tracking, that sort of thing. But ultimately, it becomes a real game changer in terms of how you can optimize and manage Google Ads and really drive revenue and profitable growth for your business. So